pretty much.
3, 2, 1, go. This is Nayeli Duran, and she'll be talking about divorce.
Hi, today my topic is about the pros and cons of divorce. I'll be going into depth with subtopics of the pros and cons as well. Well, divorce is something that several people will experience in their lifetime, whether it's actually going through the divorce or having friends that have parents that have gone through a divorce. And I'm qualified to speak on this topic because I've done extensive research coming from the Angelo State database and from other websites as well. I believe this topic is relevant to my audience because, like I said, probably children have parents that are divorced or they will get divorced in the future. I'm going to inform my audience about the pros and cons by informing them the positive effects, which include having a happier living situation and becoming less stressed. I will also inform about the negative effects, which include having to establish custody and child support. Some people believe that divorce is entirely a negative situation, which is not entirely true because there are some positives. For example, a happier living situation, less stressed life, and the cons, which I had mentioned, custody and child support. Going into the pros, you'll become happier and less stressed. For example, my aunt, she's divorced, and after she got divorced, she went traveling, she bought dogs, and then she got remarried as well. And so now, her and her husband, they both work as police officers, and whenever they get to have vacations, they go traveling to everywhere. They've gone to California, they've gone to national parks, they've done a lot of things. And a subtopic in the happier living situation, for example, let's say somebody just came out of an abusive relationship or just their children being abused or them themselves being abused. And now that they're out of it, they don't have to worry about having to live with that abuse. And also it ties in with mental and physical abuse as well, because being with somebody who's a bad influence on you or just a negative aspect in your life does have an impact on your mental state. And the second positive factor about divorce is becoming less stressed. Like I said, you have time to do as much as you want to do. Like now that you don't have another person that you can depend on or just rely on, you have time to go out and do things that you haven't tried before. Like, for example, traveling and meeting new people. And you can build yourself as a person. For example, in an article by Mercury News, it states Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos' divorce. So when they split up, Jeff Bezos had to give her half of his wealth. So that made Mackenzie Bezos the richest woman in the world. So imagine, like, everything she can do with all that money. She can go out and travel, she can spend it on herself, etc. And it just helps you focus on yourself. And yeah. Moving on to the cons, custody and child support. Well, moving from the positives, there has to be negatives that balance out the good sides of divorce. Unfortunately, though, parents have to establish financial situations, and that is not equal to custody because a divorce weighs on the child with many factors. The first con is custody. The child is caught between the legal fight, which determines which parent has custody of the child. For example, a child may feel that he has to choose a side now, and it impacts the child because they feel like they don't have the same connection to the parent anymore. Or vice versa, like they feel that they have to choose who they want to live with. and it causes a child to develop interpersonal relationships because of the lack of view of a strong relationship in their life. For example, when they grow up later in life, relationships that they have themselves probably won't be as strong because they didn't have a parent. They didn't have parents to see like a strong connection between them. And custody is not the only factor that contributes to the negatives of divorce, because child support could also be a problem if one of the parents becomes negligent. In today's society, people want everything at hand. People want everything given to them. So that contributes to laziness in society. And the child will become financially neglected because, for example, a parent could fail to provide child support. That comes from a statistic in the Bureau of Census of 1983, where the number of women raising children under 21 whose fathers were absent rose from 7.1 million in 1978 to 8.4 million in 1981. And that also weighs on the parent, because one of the parents has to pick up the slack for the other parent, and has to give the responsibility of paying for whatever the child needs. Most of the times it's the mother in the relationship who has to become responsible for the child because of the father's negligence. And in conclusion, divorce consists of positives and negatives. The positives being mostly personal, which include the person becoming less stressed and happier. The negatives include having effects on the children involved, if any, and having to establish custody and child support. Thank you.